sit outside all night. Engine, reasonably warm. The fuel, not so much. But inside of it, it's nice and warm. This water bottle's been inside since I parked it when I got home after the last run where we filmed helicopters. It's 10 degrees outside, and it wouldn't be 10 degrees inside the truck. It's nice and warm in there now. So with that, now that I'm cold and warm, let's go inside. I want to show you what I did with the trailer. Oh, I got a lot of questions about that Dodge. Let's go talk about it. Come on. Holy smokes, there's a whole semi-trailer inside. You know, not for nothing, guys, that's a goal right there for me. I know the shop seems really crammed and packed in right now, but not for nothing. There's a whole big 50-foot trailer inside, which I've never had that in a shop that was heated. Years ago, I had a shop in Fond du Lac. It was actually just a pole barn, but big enough to get equipment in, and I could get whole semi-trailers loaded in there. It was a nightmare getting it back in. There wasn't much room in front of the doors, you know, but I was able to get it in and do maintenance. But man, in the winter time, you froze in there. I had a torpedo heater, but that just ran. You know, it burned almost 2 gallons an hour, and with diesel cost being what it is, you know, I couldn't afford kerosene. It was, honestly, I just pulled it right out of the Peterbilt. But nonetheless, that's how I absorbed that cost. But nonetheless, I didn't have a heated shop like I do now. So, but now, yeah, so we did a lot of work on this trailer. Well, there's a story behind that. We're going to get into that real quick, but that's not the crux of today's video. Today's video, what we're doing is we're going to go up to Chilton, load an MB piece of equipment, snow removal equipment. It's going to Baltimore. And then, but today we're just going to load it and then come home. So that's today's video. But I want to touch base on the trailer and the drama from the last trip we did and address some things, some leftover stuff from our big glamorous vacation. Yeah, it's warm in here. I'm gonna take my hat off. I'm actually getting a little sweaty with the hoodie, but I'm used to it. By the way, outside it's like 12 degrees, so 10, 12-ish. It's really friggin' cold, and this is by the time you've seen this video, it's probably in the past. But this is the week where that big Arctic front comes down out of Canada and then winds up going pretty much here. I think on the East Coast it won't be that bad, but here it's gonna be bitter cold. Like every night for like the next week is gonna be single digits to, you know, below zero. That's Fahrenheit, by the way. But yeah, yeah, it's gonna be cold. So heater's gonna run. So that's, I don't want to think about the utility bill of this place, but it is what it is. Anyway, so what happened with the trailer? Let's get on with it. Well, right here's the pigtail that runs between the tractor and the trailer, right? So this was the end that was hooked to the tractor, and this was the end here hooked to the trailer. I went ahead and put a new end on it, as you could see. Reason was, every time I made a turn, specifically a left turn, the wire would bend it a certain way and then the trailer lights would flicker. Now, when I had that issue with the trailer, I was sitting there thinking maybe that was the only problem. Okay, but that would make the lights not work. That wouldn't make the lights trip the breaker unless it shorted into something. Now, the thing was, if the trailer was hooked here to the tractor, but I had the gooseneck disconnected from the trailer like here, now the top deck would work fine. Unplugged like that, the top deck would work fine. The bottom deck obviously would not be working at all. So, okay, what was the problem? Never really found the exact problem. Hoping and praying I did. Here's what I wound up doing. I wound up running a jumper wire from here. I cut into this wire. This wire is maybe about 4 inches shorter. I cut into the wire and I found the wire that I was going to use to run the tail lights. When you had the tail lights on, you had, see that chrome circle right there? There was a chicken light in there, and then a chicken light in here, and then here's your running light, turn signal light. You have to have that. That's required, by the way. And then another chicken light used to be here, and another chicken light used to be here, and so on down the line. Now, what would happen was, when that would short out, the whole trailer, everything would go black. The entire thing, gone. So what do? In the middle of that run, we were going down a road and I had to have some kind of tail lights. I had nothing. And I wasn't gonna drive all the way to Ohio. Push cherry picker out of the way. I wasn't gonna run all the way to Ohio with nothing. So what I did is I ran a jumper wire, because I had redone this. I didn't do it on camera or nothing on FSC Truck Shop. And this repair wasn't done on there either. I was just too busy. When I made this repair, it was a temporary repair. This is the wiring that I had done right here. I just zip tied it to an air hose right here. You see right here, that's where the main harness comes from, right through here. So I melded into the main harness because right here was a connector similar to, oh, down in that way. It's hard to find. It's underneath the trailer. But anyway, it's a big connector. It was going bad, and it was causing me to have flashing tail lights and flashing brake lights. That was no good. I found that out because we were going to Southern Michigan Railroad. Jen was following me with the car because by day we were driving and you were using the car to film, but then at night, Jen was following us out there and she was like, hey, when you step on the brake, sometimes the brake lights will flicker or they won't work at all. I'm like, okay. But every time I would stop and pull on a trolley valve to make the trailer lights work and walk back here, if the trailer was stationary, I had brake lights. But if I was going down a road and bouncing, they would flicker. So I had to find that problem, which I did. Now, this is a temporary repair. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna put a junction box back here. That way I can isolate clearance lights from tail lights. There is a difference. Some trucks have, they'll split the difference. In that particular Peterbilt, Orwell, you turn one switch on, they all come on. There's a black wire and a brown wire. One is for tail, the other is for clearance. That's a difference. These are tails right here. These are clearance lights. The three in the middle signify the trailer is wider than 8 feet wide. 102 inches is 8'6". So that's why the dually over there, we'll talk about the dually in a minute, that's why the dually has to have clearance lights on the cab and clearance lights to the back to signify it's wider than 8 feet. Clearance lights, tail lights. There is a difference. Also, I don't know what they classify them on the side, but the trailer has to have a side marker light right there, right? Now, that didn't work because I couldn't find the problem. So what I did ultimately is I ran a jumper wire from that pigtail where I scoffed into it, cut the main harness off the trailer. Now, my turn signals worked and my brake lights worked. Marker lights didn't, right? I had nothing. You know, going down the road, unless I had my four-ways on or my brakes on, you didn't know I was there. So I ran a jumper wire and I strung it along the stake pockets right here all the way on the side, up, down the length of here, and then I ran it into the light here. In fact, before I leave, I gotta put that light back in right there. But I ran the wire in here. Matter of fact, that's where I cut it to feed it right there. Matter of fact, that's where I cut it to feed it right there. So I put that in once I hitch up. But yeah, so I fed the tail lights that way, but I cut it from the main harness. In fact, right here, that's the splice I put right there. I cut this. This is what feeds it in. So I cut that and fed it from over there. So now I had tail lights. And I did that using an extension cord. I literally bought an extension cord at the service plaza, stripped it because there's 3 wires in extension cord. One cord wasn't long enough, so I had to take the whole thing apart and use 2 of the 3 strands to run the full length of the trailer, and that's how I got it home. Now, check it out. It's up on ramps. You can't really get, you can't really get underneath the trailer if it ain't up on ramps, and I couldn't do this on the road. Plus, it was soaking wet. I guess absolutely, if I was desperate, I could have done this on the road, but there was no point to it. But look at all the wires on the ground. Look at it all. That's a bungee cord. But yeah, see all this wiring? Matter of fact, here's the temporary extension cord wire I had used. Look at that, right there. I just taped it together, done. But it worked. But it worked and it got me home. So what I did is I took out all these lights. And that was the other thing too. You see these lights? The previous owner, he liked that chrome covered look. That's how it came. And they worked, but they didn't work, I don't know. I don't like that look. But anyway, but that's the back end of them. Let me find an adapter here. So doing in trailer is very common with these. This is part of the main extension. This is part of the wiring harness. So see how they'll connect it to another section of harness, and it's all these connections start to go bad. There's the wire to hook their light to it, and so on. So that's how they do it with a bunch of these style connectors, and they go bad. So I didn't know really where the short was. So my answer was delete everything I didn't need, and then I'll rewire it my way on a separate circuit. So there's that. I gotta find the other adapters I was showing. Oh, here's another. Look at that. Here's another connector. See? So they just put wire harness on top of wire harness on top of wire harness. Rather than make one harness per trailer, they have a bunch of different wire harnesses to make many different trailers. Here's another one. Rather than shorten it, Rather than cut it to trim it, look what they did. They just ran it back and forth and put a connector right here in the middle right there. That's how they build these trailers. Wire harnesses on these trailers are junk, they're terrible. Bino used to complain all the time, he used to have to do them every other year. Now, here's another thing. The previous owner also liked to put extra lights on here, like mood lights underneath. So he scoffed it into the wiring harness. This was between the cross members, right over the axles. I don't know how much this crap was rubbing the frame. Cut it out. Sadly, right now, my oversized markers, these here to slide out, these don't work yet. These will be hooked back up when I put my junction box in the back here. But again, that's the amount of separate circuit. That way, if there's a problem, you can change it. Here's the other goofiest thing I've ever seen in my life. So these were the turn signal marker lights are on the side of the trailer. See the electrical connector, it's an adapter. That hooked into the standard harness. Then they put this adapter here to adapt this plug to that plug and put your chrome covered light. That's where that goes. I just put your standard yellow Maxima right there in the chrome bezel. I like the chrome bezel because they're easier than the rubbers, because the rubber ones, they rattle and sometimes they'll fall out. These are more solid. So I keep the chrome bezel, but all the chicken lights and all them wires, all deleted. Look at all the wiring again, all deleted. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna back Orwell in, hitch onto the trailer, plug it in. Now I did test it with a battery and the old plug. I had a car battery with enough power in it to run it. Then I hooked my battery charger to it and tested it and let it run for quite a good while. And I fed the whole trailer using 16 gauge wire. And if there was a short, that 16 gauge wire should have got hot because there was no fuse, and it wasn't. So as far as I'm concerned, problem solved. But that's how we did it. Now, onto the dually. What's up with that? Now, I backed the dually in and didn't get Orwell in last night. One, because Orwell wasn't gonna fit. And, well, actually, Orwell does fit in this space right here, believe it or not. But point is, Matthew was here because he's in for the holidays. He was working on his truck, his 81 Ford. So we parked it right here. I know it's really crammed in here on this side, but it's because it's a huge ass Ram here. So here's all my stuff from Glamis, my fuel tanks, sand paddle tires and all that. Oh, I'm gonna address this real quick. Everybody busts my chops about that rusty wheel, the rusty wheel. There's nothing wrong with that wheel, okay? Because here's why. You see sand paddle tires here, you see these front smoothies, you see the rims, the bead locks, these for the Razor, right? That right there was $2,300. I'm not flexing on you guys, but what I'm trying to say is this out in the dunes with my sons is far more important than a structurally sound but rusty and ugly wheel on a semi-truck that I use for work. This is more important to me than that wheel. One day I'll do it. I bought this truck. Why? Well, here's why. Because I want to put a truck camper in the back for me and Jen and haul that trailer with my son's cars or my cars or whatever. Family stuff. It's what I do for fun. We see that on FSC Speed Shop. Now that's why I got the dually. The dually was because I couldn't haul 2 cars in that trailer and have enough weight capacity in the truck with a truck camper. You can do it with the other truck, and we did, but you're overloading your tires. I had to go with the dually. Now, I didn't want dually originally when I bought the truck, the original truck, the first Ram, because, well, there's a story behind that. I'll explain. The first Ram truck came to be because, well, me and Matt got in an argument. Matthew had his second gen, Ram 2500, Mr. Beefy, and then we bought the first Ram truck, the 2500 single rear wheel, because, well, me and Matt got in an argument. I had to use his truck to haul something heavy. It may have literally been Orwell's transmission. I don't really remember, but he kind of got a little pissy about something. And I'm like, you know what, dude, I bought you that truck. And I'm like, F you, I'm not going to have you complaining to me about using your truck very every now and again. I'm just going to go buy my own. So that's kind of what I did. I went online. I looked. Bergstrom's had one down the street in Kaukauna. It was already on the lot. Now what I needed was crew cab. Had to have crew cab, and I had to have 8-foot bed. I had to have 8-foot bed because I had to be able to put a Harley in the back, close the tailgate, and haul a camper or a boat. Has to have crew cab. Has to have 8-foot bed. Look to ordering them. Now, at that time, Dodge, I think it was either 21 or 22, but I wasn't at the time thinking I was going to order a truck, so I bought one off the lot. It had the 6.4 liter Hemi, and I bought it. Didn't ever think I'd have that 41-foot trailer hauling 2 cars. I'm thinking max, a motorcycle, and a camping trailer. I'll never use that kind of weight. I'll never need a truck that big. Well, turned out I did. Well, Turned out I overloaded that truck a few times, so we really couldn't justify that any longer. So we were at the dealer looking at a Jeep for Jen, and there's a white dually parked out front that was sold, and I said, it's a shame you can't get one of them in a Hemi. And the salesman was like, I can get you one with a Hemi. Like, since when? He's like, since now. So it was either late 21 or 22 model years that they were able to start ordering them, the dualies with Hemi. It used to be if you were on a configurator online, you ordered a Dodge, you had, as soon as you clicked on dual rear wheels, you had to get Cummins. And I don't want that. Now that Cummins, the smaller one, is the $8,500 option. $8,500 over the cost of this truck adds Cummins to it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want nothing to do with that. So we ordered it long ago. It took about 3.5 months. The truck finally arrived. While we were in Glamis, the truck arrived. They held it for me, and then we traded it as soon as we got back. So right there is our 2022 Dodge Ram 3500 dually, Hemi powered. Now, I already touched base on other videos as far as the difference in the why I don't want the Cummins, why I wanted the dually, all of that, whatnot. So there we are. Now, like I said, right now diesel is running around $2 a gallon more than gasoline. So this thing towing that trailer, my other truck towing the big trailer also, got about 7.5 miles to the gallon. I did tow the big trailer to Abrams and back once to get Matt's Ford. So yeah, it gets in the 7.5 mile gallon range under the load of the trailer. That's not adding the average of driving around empty. Driving around empty, it gets around 14. The Cummins probably eats that alive as far as running around empty, but you don't buy a truck to drive empty, you buy a truck to tow it. So going out to Glamis and back was 7.5 miles to the gallon, and I did the numbers with diesel being $2 a gallon difference. You have to go to 15 miles to gallon to even be even numbers with the cost of fuel. And even there, you have to add DEF to your diesel, plus you still have to pay off the $8,500 purchase price of the Cummins compared to the Hemi. So for me, it doesn't make sense. But once Ram opened up the Hemis and dualies, I was all in. So I ordered the same truck exactly, except this one's a Bighorn package, and it has a nicer interior. So it's got the diesel gray and black, or charcoal gray and diesel gray, or I forget what they call it. So yeah, that's the dash is different a little bit. There are differences. The back seats are way more comfy. Does not have running boards. I ordered it with it, but it can't come with running boards. Running boards were a restricted option in this truck because there's air suspension in this thing. It's a leaf spring rear suspension with underslung overloads, for lack of a better term. It's just a helper spring. But also, it's got airbags too. Now, what does that have to do with my running boards? That's why. Because your air tanks are right underneath the seats. So your air tank and your pumps in this box right there, block your running boards from being available. The first truck was tradesman package. This one is Bighorn. Also, if I wanted the retractable steps, which I have no idea are available also with the air suspension, I don't know. But if I wanted that, I had to minimum go to Laramie package, and that was another $7,800. And then it had other options with electronics, you know, the lane assist and all that, adaptive cruise control. I don't want none of that crap. I don't want a truck that fights me. So we stuck with Bighorn. Gave me enough amenities to be happy. A little bit easier to drive as far as the functionality while towing. And there you go. Dually, Hemi. I had to have one. And yeah, the government's been fighting inflation by raising interest rates. So believe me, I miss my old interest rate. But hey, you only live once, and I want to do stuff with my family. So yeah, long story short, that's why I don't worry about the wheels. What I worry about is what's important. So what is important to me is having a trailer that works, having a truck that works, having lights that work, you know, the stuff you have to have that'll pass DOT without an issue. So, oh, one more thing. This is the main trailer frame on the outside, the rub rail. It is solid. Under here is the main trailer frame. Actual I-beam construction, it makes it right here. This beam right here, that's metal, steel, goes all the way to the front. That's solid. I was just underneath there. This right here is not a structural part of the trailer. This is here only so a vehicle could climb up onto the top deck or back down. What happens is the wheels spray into here and the mud and gunk gets caught up under here and it rots that out. That is not a structural part of the trailer. Will I fix it? Yes. Now that I have the shop that I can do it in, yes. Now I can actually work on it warm. All I have to do is measure that out, have a local metal shop, get me some diamond plate, put 45 ends on it, 45-degree angles, cut them old ones out, and me or Maggie will weld it in together. And that'll be that. So I have my neighbor Maggie helps me weld. Matter of fact, she did a great job helping me with that enclosed trailer with the tie downs, by the way. So, and she's a professional welder by trade, so maybe she'll be in a channel here later on. Point is, that's non-structural. Everything else is fine. I just got done messing with the lights. So that's what's been going on. That's what's happening with the trailer. I figured I'd let you in on that a little bit. I did kind of show the dually really quick. That popped a lot of questions, so I figured, okay, since you guys noticed, I'll answer. Also, FSC Speed Shop, the other channel. That's a 68 Chevelle. I put quarters on both sides and mini tubs. Check it out on FSC Speed Shop. I've been trying to get that caught up on too. And eventually I'm trying real hard to get the time. There's a Mustang buried over there. We're trying to get that done too. So that's the old automotive side of me that I'm trying to clear out because, well, that's what the channel used to be before it turned into a trucking channel. All right, enough of me yapping. I got crap to do. Let's go. Let's get this truck hooked up and get out of here. Last night it was getting late. I like those chrome light bezels. You push them in and they're good. All right, I have the lights on it. I have the lights on in the truck, so when I plug it in, it should come on. If not, then I got more work to do when I get back.